So I salute you, eternal beings of light. It's hard to recognize ourselves sometimes because we become so connected to our bodies that we believe we are our bodies, but our bodies only afford us the opportunity for an earth experience. So, from whom I was to whom I am becoming. What about fear? What about anxiety? For many people, it's in the background. And when they're feeling challenged, as now, that anxiety and fear that's kind of in the background suddenly becomes very pronounced in the face of challenge. The anxiety and the fear that's already been there in the background now comes out fully, and you're in the grip of it. It's got you. But you see, that's an opportunity. Because then you can become aware of the link between thoughts and emotions. And you realize that your unconscious thought process is connected to the emotion that we call fear or the emotion that we call anxiety. And it's in this state continuously. It's a vicious circle. We know that anxiety can affect the whole body. It can affect the way you breathe. It can affect your heart rate. It can affect the way you think. It can throw off your digestive system. Even mainstream medicine recognizes the fact that what they call stress, which primarily is anxiety and fear, makes you much more susceptible to illness. The fearful thinking feeds the fearful emotion with energy. As a matter of fact, fearful thinking vibrates at the same frequency as fearful emotion. This is food that the ego loves and wants more of. What can I do? Well, it's very unlikely that you'll have a creative and useful thought. Whenever your action is based on fearful thinking, it's likely to be not wise, not effective, probably wrong, and leading to more suffering. When you're in the grip of fearful thinking, it's going to be a complete misinterpretation. You know, the oh my God scenario. So the first thing is to become aware of thoughts and emotion. This means that when you do this, awareness has arisen. And when awareness has arisen, you can recognize the futility and destructive nature of certain types of thinking. But you've got to be able to be present. You need to let go of it and then replace it. 3, you've got to be able to be present. You've got to let go of it and replace it. So with this, you come to a place of realizing the kind of thoughts that go through your mind. Recognize the destructive nature of those types of thoughts, and then replace these thoughts, not immediately with positive thoughts, but with awareness. Be present as much as you can. And as you can, be more in the present moment. Hey, that's all there ever is. What am I talking about? The present moment. The mind doesn't seem to know that all there ever is the present moment. The mind seems to miss that fact. But there's nothing else ever in your life. So you might as well give it some attention. The future? The future never comes. It's always now. The now is when the past happened. When do you remember the past? You remember it now. Now. There is only now. So you might as well give it your fullest attention. Make it the focal point of your life. And then see what you can do with a so-called future. You need to be present in the now in order to recognize the now is. Now can actually be your friend and not your enemy. As a matter of fact, now is your friend. If you choose to become friendly with the present moment, then you begin to experience how friendly now is. And you begin to cut the link between your thought processes and the emotion, because you let go of the fearful thoughts. You recognize the futility. Instead, you choose to be more present. And thoughts will eventually still come, and then you'll recognize them. Let go. Be more present. However, in the present, the emotional energy probably will not immediately disappear because it has been there for so long. So even if you no longer feel the emotion with your thinking, you become present and you may notice, yes, I am more aware of the negative emotion in me. So, that anxiety, what are you going to do with it? So the normal tendency is to say, I want to get rid of it. The sooner the better. But you see, this really is an opportunity of evolving through facing the pain, facing the suffering. That's a new way of living. It's a very powerful way of living. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's almost like saying, I don't mind to be anxious. Sounds very paradoxical. What happens when you get to that place of, I don't mind to be anxious, is you're not fueling the anxiety with your thinking. You're aware of your anxiety. You no longer give it fuel, no longer give it food, and you become aware of the anxiety. You place your attention on it, which is a part of the attention that's in the present moment. This is very intense energy. You may find that when you focus your attention on it, the fear seems to grow, the anxiety seems to increase. And that's because it's trapped energy, and you're finally letting it out of you. When you can completely accept the no fear at this moment without feeding it anymore with your thinking, and you're becoming aware of it, you find something happens. And suddenly, instead of becoming fuel for your ego, it becomes fuel for your consciousness. It becomes transmuted into presence. It becomes transmuted into awareness when it is completely accepted. And then, it's no longer fear. It just suddenly is intense awareness. And that intense awareness is like a higher consciousness. You're no longer just reliant on your conditioned mind. And after that initial transmutation, and look at it, it's a transmutation. You're transmitting that intense anxiety, that intense fear by being with it and focusing on it and accepting it. It transmutes into intense awareness. But even after the initial part, you may find yourself falling right back into fear. And fear may repeatedly try to rise up back in your mind and make you think fearful thoughts. And you'll fall back into the same pattern, but then it's shorter and shorter, the intervals. You wake up again and you realize, this is what's happening. You come to a place of acceptance and you notice that the transmutation happens again. You reach a point where suffering can be transmuted into higher consciousness. That's going back to saying, this is a new way of living. It's a very powerful way of living. Instead of trying to run away or make it go away, you choose to face it. You reach a point where suffering is transmuted into a higher consciousness that allows awareness or presence to come forward with a new energy. So remember, you are eternal beings, clothed in bodies of earth, having an earthly experience, going through the same process that everyone does, and that is forgetfulness. We forget who we are so we can learn the lessons, and one of the lessons is being brought to your attention right here, right now. And it is the most fundamental of all, because it is the most personal of all. It happens in your own mind, in your own awareness. And when you can come to that place of seeing thoughts for what they are and witnessing the connection between thought and emotion, then you are then becoming much more present and able to be selective with what you let go and what you bring forward to replace it with. Thank you very much for your attention. Now, wasn't that easy? So, keep it up.